It's colourful, quirky and packed with fun, but not every ride at Gulliver's World is worth keeping. I'm going to review each one and decide which ones should stay and which ones should be scrapped. So we're going to start with a very, very strange credit, a wooden coaster that was manufactured in-house. So none of the big boys did this, it was purely built by their own engineers, and I think that shows because it is a very, very strange little ride. Of course, it is Antelope. Now, I went on this many, many times when I was there because we had ERT for 30 minutes, 60 minutes. We got multiple shots, front row, back row, middle of it, the whole shebang. Now, it's so bizarre because to begin with, you get up there to that first lift hill and then you go flying down the drop and you think, oh my god, this thing's going to be amazing. And then it's barely got the steam to get back up the other side. By the time it gets to the top, you're absolutely crawling around thinking, this thing is going to stall on me. It's just got weird profiling, a strange double down, it's just odd. And then I believe the section at the end, I don't know if this is just like rumours or a myth, I believe they considered making it like a splashdown. To the best of my knowledge, there are no splashdowns in a wooden coaster for a reason. So there's just this weird bit at the end before you go back into the station. But yeah, overall this is an absolutely bonkers coaster and not in a good way. So I know I've said in many, many videos before that scrapping coasters is not something I like to do. This is the second one that I'm going to scrap. They've got another coaster here, and it's nothing special. It is the Wriggler. I mean, it's a simple wacky worm, standard layout, nothing special. Perfect for this park because, you know, it's a little kiddie coaster. Unlike that wooden monstrosity, I'm going to keep this one. This next one is kind of odd because somehow I completely missed it. And I've seen so many photos and videos and POVs and all sorts of things that even though I've not experienced this one, I am going to talk about it. And that is Gilly's Princess Ride. Now it's a dark ride. The strangest little thing you've ever seen. Very, very slow moving, not particularly well themed, just bizarre. So I've not experienced this one as I said, but from what I've seen, this thing needs to go in the bin. Let's scrap it. Right, they've also got a pirate ship, imaginatively named Pirate Ship. Listen, I like a pirate ship, and I've said so many times before that flat rides are a kind of important part of a park. So there's nothing special about it, but it needs to stay. Let's keep it. Just round the corner from that pirate boat is their roller disco, and it's called Pirate's Cove. Now, if you watch the channel long enough, you probably know where this is going, because I didn't like them. I just think they're a waste of space. Now granted, this is the half-pipe version. I've said many times before, the ones with the weird hump in the middle, they just, I don't know why that even exists, it just doesn't really work. So this is a better version, because it's the half-pipe, but it's still a roller disco, so I'm not a fan of them. I'm going to scrap it. It's just such a strange little park. There's bits where you go, ooh, there's some effort and some theming, and there's other bits you go, no there's not. This next one falls into that latter bracket, and it's their kind of little boat ride thing, little yellow boat dinghy malarkey called Adventure Canyon. I mean, I don't even know how you would describe it. Like, the boats are more styled like you would expect on a rapids, although on a small scale. They're not big enough to hold like 8 people, but you know, circular, seats all the way around, etc. But the kind of experience is more akin to a log flume, except obviously you can't rotate in a log flume. So it's this kind of weird hybrid thing. For the most part, there's absolutely nothing to see. Like, literally, you're floating around, there's a couple of trees, and that's about it. And then there's this weird bit where there's like a building with a kind of, I think it's got a fake rock facade on it. And you're like, oh, some theming. But that's it. That's basically it. So yeah, complete waste of space. And you know, it's not exactly like A, you're going to get wet, and B, you're in a place that's going to be stinking hot. You're going to need it. It's useless. So scrap it. And then just like next to that attraction is their dark ride. And it's another strange little sausage, so it is, and it is Temple Raider. Now I can't remember if the trains go through that, like there's 4 or 5 carriages, can't remember the exact number, I can't remember if they're dispatched individually or if it does go through as a train. In any case, it is strange. It's very, very slow moving, kind of like the Mischief Manor thing at Flamingo Land that's so slow it's just painful. It's like that. There's a bit of theming in here, there's lots of dark space. It's just odd. So yeah, scrap this one too. We're having a lot of luck with this part because the next thing is their observation tower. And I don't quite know where to start with this one because there's, right, the first thing is it's an observation tower where you're in this mesh cage. So your visibility is restricted, right? It's not like it's glass panels, it's this kind of mesh. Quite small mesh as well, so it's not like there's big gaps, obviously, so you can't put anything out. So immediately your visibility is limited and it's kind of pointless. And then from one side of it, you're basically in the trees. So all you're observing is some branches. You're not above the trees, you can't see anything. It's just pointless. There's no nice view, and even if there was, it's obstructed by both the trees and that stupid mesh. So don't understand why this thing exists, and it needs to go in the bin. The strangeness continues in this park with an attraction known as the Hatchery. Now, conceptually this is, it's not a bad idea. So it's one of those, I don't know what the name of the ride type is, but it's one of those ones where there's the two rotating plates with the vehicles on it, and they sort of switch and do a sort of figure of eight thing. So you're kind of spinning around and switching sides and all that kind of stuff. And you're in these weird, it's called the Hatchery, so there's no surprises here. You're in this kind of weird egg thing. Well, it's got a window on it, not that you can really see much out of it. And it's got the most bizarre restraints. There's this big gigantic bar thing, it's like, do you know what it reminds me of? If you've got one of those clothes horses in the house, not the kind of crisscross ones, the ones that you sort of fold out and then a bit comes down, it's like that. This big sort of metal thing with kind of a grid just comes down across both your, both sides laps. It's odd, just bizarre little thing. And there's a reasonable amount of kind of, I don't want to say force, but you know, it's got a bit of force to it as you spin around. And it's a weird thing to look at. I'm not going to scrap this one because I actually think the quirkiness of this is kind of cool in a weird way, but it's definitely not a good ride. So I'll put this one as take it or leave it. Oi, oi, oi. Right, this next one, I've done two of these, and I don't know why I've done two of these because this was the first one, and it was so stupid and weird and odd. I don't know why I did it again recently in Pleasurewood Hills. And this one is Flight of the Pteranodon. So if you look at it from the outside, the kind of cars that you go in are very, very similar to Hero at Flamingo Land. There's a reason for that. It's made by the same people. It's a Zamperla flat ride. So you're in this kind of weird lion position. It's not quite as bad as Hero, but it's conceptually very, very similar. It's kind of like two abreast, lots of them all the way around. So you're lying down, you've got to get into this weird thing. You're basically staring at the ass of the person in front of you, which, that's just a weird thing from the get-go. It's not great for guys because there's like a bit between your legs. That's not very comfy. And then the whole ride cycle is just odd because it's very, very slow moving, and it kind of does this, it's going round, but it's kind of going up and down. And there's a picture of me on it looking absolutely miserable at the end of it. So there's no surprises. This thing's just bonkers and needs scrapped. Right, let's turn things around a little bit because there are a couple of okay attractions here. I'm not sure if I'd go as far as to say decent attractions, but they are definitely an improvement on what we've talked about so far. And the first one is Apache Falls. So it's another water ride, and this one probably is more of that rapids than that weird thing I mentioned earlier. But it's weird because it looks more like a travelling rapids. It's a bit like Storm Surge at Thorpe Park in that it's like this, it's almost like a scaffolding structure with a trough that kind of you go through. You're getting wet on this, whether you like it or not, because there's a couple of bits there where they just absolutely splash the boat. And the weird thing about this, thing that just makes absolutely no sense at all, is that there are holes in the seats you'd think would be designed for drainage out the way. The water comes up, so it's kind of like a little bidet when you're going round, because your ass is getting washed. So strange, just a very odd little thing. But nonetheless, it's good fun. You know, if you're going on that knowing you're going to get wet, you know, there's times when you go on a wet water ride and you're like, I want to get wet, like just for fun or because it's hot or whatever. So at least this does that. That previous one I talked about, there's no wetness involved, it's just bland. So there's at least something to this one. And for that reason, this one is going to go in that keep pile. And just next to that is their drop tower, called Desperado Drop, I believe. It's quite good. It's definitely not the most intense one out there by any stretch of the imagination, nor is it particularly tall. It's definitely not a kid's one in terms of it's not one of those really small junior ones, but it's nothing like, you know, an ice blaster taller than that. Sorry, launch pad now, I'm showing my age. But yeah, it's, if I remember correctly, it's got a pretty long cycle on it, pretty decent number of lifts and drops and stuff. It's obviously not a shot tower, it is a drop tower solely, so it takes you up, drops you multiple times. I think it rotates as well. Pretty sure I saw the way around, although maybe not, can't remember. Only did it once, but it was good fun for what it was, and definitely it's kind of pushing that age limit in this park. As I say, it's not the super junior version of this kind of ride, but it's definitely not the big boy version, so it's somewhere in the middle. But that said, I did enjoy it, and it is another one I'm going to keep. Right, I find the Gullivers parks kind of strange, because in some ways they're kind of like this weird time warp, right? Like, nothing's happened in a long time, and it's like, this is what parks were like in the 80s. Crap. But they do have a couple of bits where they're starting to invest. I mean, obviously one of the parks, the only one I've not been to actually, Milton Keynes, is reasonably new. They do have a couple of sections in here that have been updated, and one of them is their kind of gears area. So within that they have a coaster called Grand Prix Racers, and it's terrible. It's a standard layout. There's another one of the Gullivers parks I've done that has the exact same coaster, and I'm led to believe that Junior Red Force over in Ferraryland is also this same layout. And it's weird. Like, there's a definitely something went wrong with the profiling at one point. You come down the drop and then you very abruptly take a right, and you get absolutely flung sideways. It's like, do you know the bit on the big one where you're just getting out towards the hotels? You go flying, you're coming up towards a mid-course brake run, so you go down past the boulevard and then you come up towards the mid-course brake run. And since they retracked it, for some reason, you now go, whoosh! It's exactly like that, but in the other direction. It just doesn't make any sense. For a little kiddie coaster, it should be smooth, it should be gentle, and it's not. It is bonkers. It's terrible, actually. So, it might be my third coaster that I've put in the scrap pile, because it needs to go. Now, in that gears area, there is another attraction, and it's a fairly decent attraction, and that is Overdrive. Now, I'm not sure what the proper name for this ride is. I'm going to call it a gyro swing. It isn't a gyro swing, I know that. But it's kind of similar, right? You're basically sitting in a row of seats facing outwards. It swings. It does a full inversion, actually. So it's, you know, one of the only upside down rides in the park. In fact, I think it is the only upside down ride in the park. So for, again, given the target demographic, this is quite an extreme ride. And it's a lot of fun, to be honest. I've been on it a couple of times. So again, I've said before, flat rides have a place, and I enjoy this one. So this is getting kept. Right, now at the time of filming, since I was last there, they've opened the new Wizard of Oz area. So there's 2 or 3 rides in there. There's like the upside down house, there's that weird monkeys thing. I actually think that goes upside down as well. So my last comment may no longer be accurate. When I visited, none of this existed. So I haven't been on these rides, can't speak to these rides. Possibly some of you can. It's fairly new, and it's not really a park that everybody goes to because you need a kid to get in. So I'd love to know if anybody in the audience has actually been on the new Wizard of Oz rides and what they're like. But yeah, other than that though, this park has more scrap than keep. Now listen, I am not the target audience by a long shot, right? This is aimed at very young children, claims to be up to about 13, said it before, absolutely no chance. I have got a 14-year-old now. I had a 13-year-old when I went, she was bored stiff. Like, this is not anywhere near 13. This is like maybe up to 10, and even then you're probably pushing it. So yeah, strange little place. Definitely not aimed at me, as I say, but I think their ride lineup is pretty poor. And well, listen, they're starting to do some investments, right? The Gears area's recently done Wizard of Oz section. So, you know, maybe they're starting to refresh things and modernize it, and maybe in a few years' time, my opinion will have changed. But as it stands right now, yeah, I think the place has had its day. In any case, I'd love to know your thoughts on this one. You know, there's probably things you agree with and things that you don't. As always, hit that like button, smash the subscribe button, and there's a playlist up here if you want to see some more parks.